Cheers. I'm almost done with it. That's sad. I'm drinking agua de Jamaica. Have you heard of it? I guess it was kind of like a refresher made out of hibiscus or hibiscus tea. Anyways, I'm so happy you are here. You're here on a good day because today I'm sharing DIY gift ideas, gifts that people I think are gonna want to receive. Now, of course, these are great year round, but there's something about this time of the year as we're moving into the holidays, giving or making a gift, a handmade gift. The sentiment of that, it's just so powerful, such a good feeling, especially if it's good. So today's projects, I think they're good. So we're gonna do 4 projects that I think hopefully feel upscale. Let's just jump into these projects. Now before we jump in, my name is Jorge if you're new here, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you like DIYs, home decor, vintage shopping, all that, because I certainly do. Now with these projects, I try to keep them as simple as possible, and it's sometimes about the smallest thing that can make a big impact, and I think these ones might just do the trick, but we'll find out here in the end. So let's just get into it because I'm feeling a little giddy. I feel like a classic DIY gift is one of those where you take a photo, maybe a portrait of someone, and you kind of, make it into a mug, a blanket, a canvas print, and those are fine, but let's take this a little bit further and make it something more unique. So we're gonna take a photo. It could be a portrait of someone. This would be a good family gift too. We're gonna take that photo. We're going to transform it into an artistic piece via an app. Print it, get it nicely mounted on a nice frame that we're gonna do. It actually sounds more complicated than I'm making it sound. Very easy, but I think the impact of this is pretty cool. Now this project might seem a little familiar to some of you. This is actually one that I did in a previous video, similar technique in my holiday DIY minimal decor video. That's a mouthful. Anyways, I took this old vintage frame, don't like the color, so I'm going to spray paint it flat black. I left the inner border just because it has a nice little gold detail, so I just taped that off. With the artistic painting, how do we do that? Well, we're actually going to use an app. I tried a couple of different apps, but this one, I really like the filters that it came with. It's called Paint Photo Editor. Maybe I'll see if I can link it below. You can play around with the different effects or filters that they have. I really like this sort of brown one, so I went ahead and saved it, sent it to my computer, and just printed it in regular printer paper. You'll see why in a moment. Now we're gonna go ahead and mount this on a canvas panel. I got this particular one from Dollar Tree. It's the 8" by 10" one. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim down this photo to the size, actually a little bit smaller because I want to do something kind of interesting. So I'm gonna paint the border of the canvas panel because it does have a little bit of thickness. So we're gonna just paint the border black. I tried out this black acrylic paint from Dollar Tree just to try it out. Honestly, you get what you pay for. It's $1. It's not the best quality, but nonetheless, it got the job done here. I wrinkled up my paper, not too much though, but this is essentially going to give me sort of a leathery finish, a really nice texture, I think, a visual texture for sure. I'm going to mount it, or I guess apply it with some Mod Podge. This is the matte one, not the glossy one. So just spreading a nice thin layer across the canvas panel with the dried paint, and just going to go ahead and center this. Try to remove as many of the wrinkles as I can. They're not going to go away. Again, it's going to create sort of that leathery finish. After about 5 minutes, now I'm just going to go ahead and seal this. So I'm just going to put some Mod Podge all over the top. I know it sounds a little weird. Trust me, this is going to dry sort of a matte, clear finish, which I think is going to look really nice. And I'm just dabbing it to sort of create some faux brush strokes. And we're just going to set that aside to dry. Speaking of dry, our frame is now dry. I'm removing the tape and trying to figure out what color to paint the larger canvas panel because we're going to layer the 2 canvas panels. So we have the one that we just did. That one's going to go on top. We're going to center it. And this other one behind, which is the 11" by 14" one from Dollar Tree, I thought I could have some fun and paint it a different color, kind of do something interesting. So I drew a line down the middle, and I'm going to paint the bottom half black and then leave the top white. And this is a good opportunity to play around with texture, with color, maybe use a color strategy that really works well with the photo you're using, maybe some contrast or monochromatic, whatever you prefer. I'm just going for black and white just to have some fun here. Now it's time to mount our artwork now that the whole paint is dried. I'm going to use some E6000. I probably could have just used Mod Podge, but I don't know, E6000 just sounded better for me. Mounted in the center, trying to kind of eyeball it. Probably could have measured, but I just eyeballed it. That pretty much does it for this artwork. Such a simple thing you could do to customize some art. So let's take a look at the final result. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not the most competitive person when it comes to board games. Sometimes I'll play, I'm like, ah, screw it, I don't care. So, I don't know, maybe you don't want to play board games with me. But if I'm playing checkers, oh my goodness, I will flip a table. I really like the game, so I'm so happy to be making a checkerboard using stone tile. Now, stone tile, you can pretty much get anywhere at the hardware store, you know, Lowe's, Home Depot, the flooring store. So we're gonna be making a nice, aesthetically pleasing checkered board that can honestly just stay out on a coffee table. So this is perfect for a friend, a loved one who likes playing board games, who likes kind of the aesthetics of a nice coffee table, what have you. I was looking for a square piece of stone tile, but I couldn't find one for some reason, so I found this 12-inch by 24-inch gauge slate tile, a beautiful charcoal color that I found from Home Depot. Now I'm going to take a square, or I guess some pieces of paper that make a perfect square, because as you'll know, a checkered board is a square, 8 squares by 8 squares if I'm not mistaken. So I folded this up into 8 sections to serve as a guide for laying out or drawing the checkerboard. I tried a couple of different techniques to do this, and the best one that I found is to just lay out a whole bunch of tape, masking tape, painter's tape, and then just draw in that checkered board using the folded piece of paper just to serve as the spacing. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and actually cut out those individual squares out rather than drawing each individual one and then taping them. I hope this makes sense. I'm making it more confusing than it needs to, but just gonna go ahead and take a utility knife, and yes, you will pretty much damage the blade, but that's okay, you're sacrificing one blade. Now I'm just removing the appropriate squares off. Those remaining open squares are going to be the ones that are going to be painted white. And honestly, depending on the type of tile you get, maybe if you get sort of a beige tone, maybe you can do a different color. Maybe you can paint them black, what have you. But in this case, I think white would be the appropriate choice. The color I'm using is white in a matte finish, and rather than just spray painting it and calling it good, I'm actually going to take my rag here, just any old rag, and gently tapping it to remove some of that, just so that it is not as opaque and kind of just work well with the stone, as you know, has a little bit of color variance. Once that is fully dry, I'm removing all of the remaining tape, and there we have it, a beautiful clean line checkerboard. To protect the surface and the paint job, I'm going to use some Mod Podge in the matte finish, and don't worry, this is going to dry clear. Now, this is totally optional, but I thought it looked nice to make a frame for this. This is a 1/2 inch corner molding that I got from Home Depot. I'm going to miter it using my miter saw. If you don't have a saw like this, don't worry, you can just use a miter box. Super easy to cut. I will link this one down below for you. If you have the time and desire, you can definitely stain the wood. I should have just left the natural. I think it looked better with this one, but here I am staining it, giving it 2 coats of the color Ebony by Min Wax. Once that fully dried, or at least for a few hours, I sealed it with some polyacrylic in the matte finish. Allowing that to fully dry, it is time to glue this onto our checkered board. I'm going to use Gorilla Glue. Apparently there's two types. I've been using the brown one, but I would recommend the clear one. The clear one does not foam up and triple in size. The other one does, and it can start to overflow once it starts to cure. So I definitely recommend the clear one. Now that that's dried, we're done. Wait a minute, no we're not. We need our checkers pieces, and we're going to use this penny tile, hex penny tile that I found from Home Depot. It's like $3 or something like that, and it's perfect because there's plenty of pieces to complete the set. Overall, what a nice little gift, a handmade checkered board that lasts for a few years. The only thing is, how are we going to store these checkered pieces? I didn't really complete the thought on this. Maybe a wooden box or something like that. Let me know your thoughts. What would you store these checkered pieces in? Now would this be a DIY gift video without some coasters? Well, we're gonna make some coasters. We're gonna keep this pretty simple and maybe something different, something I haven't really seen. Now this project is going to be short and sweet. I got these little trays made out of ceramic, I believe, from the Target dollar spot, just $1 a piece, but I'm sure you can get them at the craft store too. These are black and dark brown colors, acrylic paint that I'm using, mixing in a lot of water though to sort of create more of a stain rather than a solid paint. If I were to do these again, I probably would have just spray painted them. I feel like spray paint, it lasts a lot longer than just acrylic paint, but here we are. Now, we're going to be working with epoxy resin. If you were going to add color to your epoxy resin, which I will show you how in a minute, definitely choose a color that's going to complement the resin. Once complete, I definitely recommend you seal it to help protect the paint. You could use Thompson's water seal as I'm using here, or maybe you can use some Mod Podge. If you haven't worked with epoxy resin before, definitely follow the instructions of the bottles you use. In this case, I'm using one that says to mix equal parts A and B, which I'm going to do. To add color to the resin, I'm going to use these color pigments that I ordered on Amazon. I'll link them down below. But here I am just going to mix equal parts A and B. And full disclosure, please work in a well ventilated area or make sure that you have protective equipment. Now I'm just following the instructions to make this for about 3 minutes, also stirring slowly so that I don't get as many air bubbles. Now I divided them up into 2 cups. In one cup I'm going to use the color Pearl, and in the other I'm going to use sort of this goldish color mixed together with some copper. I don't know, you can have so much fun with resin. You can create all sorts of patterns, maybe get sort of like a faux stone look. So that is what I'm going to do here. Next, I am pouring in the Pearl color. Now keep in mind with these, whatever you pour in, it's going to be permanent. This whole thing is a coaster, so make sure that you use the colors that you want. Now I am adding the sort of stone metallic color, and there are so many awesome videos that share how you can create sort of a marbled effect if that's something you're going for. But here I'm just going to swirl them around with a stick and call it a day. So I just let that set for about 24 hours to cure, and this is our final result. Alright, now for this one, I was kind of being a weirdo. I was at the craft store, Michael's in particular. I was just standing there in the wood craft section trying to figure out what the heck should I make with this wooden box. Because I saw these little wooden boxes. They're like $5. They're already made. You don't need to do anything, no tools, whatever. And so I was like, what do I do with this? And so I was thinking, A good gift is one of those gifts that you can use every single day. So what this is, we're going to be making sort of a catch-all tray that honestly anyone would really appreciate. They can use them anywhere. They can use them in their bathroom, their workspace, their bedroom. I am going to be making sort of a catch-all tray with a pre-made box. Do a nice little stain on it, keep it simple, but then for the inside, like where the things rest, we're gonna do some faux leather. Faux leather is good, it's affordable, so you can make a whole bunch of these boxes, give them to your friends, your co-workers, your families, what have you, but just have fun. So I'm going to take this wooden box that I found at Michael's, but I'm sure you could find them at any craft store or maybe even online and see if I can find one. These are ready to be painted or stained. Now, these right here I found also at Michael's. They're doll heads, they're called. I don't know. They're doll heads. And I'm going to use them as sort of feet for the bottom of the tray. I'm going to put 4, 1 on each corner. I thought that could look kind of cute, right? Why not? To glue them down, I'm going to use some Gorilla Glue. You could also just use wood glue, what have you, but just a little bit goes a long way. Remember that. Now to hold it in place while that cures, I'm going to use some not duct tape, what is this called? Painter's tape. Painter's tape for a few hours before moving on to the next step. Now for the fun stuff, let's go ahead and stain this up. Now that that's fully cured, I'm going to use a dark walnut color. I think it's going to work well with the faux leather that I got. Before staining wood, I always like to use this stuff. It's called pre-stained wood conditioner. What this does, if you have it, use it, but if you don't, that's fine too. But I like this because it allows the wood stain to be absorbed nicely and evenly, and it won't look so splotchy. I feel like it makes it look a little bit more professional. After letting that sit and absorb for 5 minutes, it's time to apply the stain. Of course, I'm going with some Dark Walnut by Minwax, such a beautiful color. Oof, look at that, it's looking good. So it's been dried for a few hours. Let's go ahead and seal this up. I'm using some polyacrylic by Minwax. I like to use the matte finish because, I don't know, I think I'm obsessed with matte finishes. I think they just look very aesthetically pleasing and I don't really like the shine as much. Now that that's fully dried, let's go ahead and cut up our leather. Why measure when you can just take a piece of paper, fold it up, and use it as a template? Now, what am I going to cut? Well, of course, that beautiful leather I keep talking about. This is the color I went with, beautiful sort of cognac. It's vegan, don't you worry. And this one is from Hobby Lobby, although you can get faux leather at pretty much any fabric store. I've seen some at Joann's. I think I've seen some at Walmart even, maybe even Amazon. So whatever color you go with, this one's going to pair well with that dark walnut that I selected for this wood stain. We're just going to go ahead and adhere this with some Mod Podge. Just apply a thin layer with a brush and then we'll be on our way for the day. Honestly, it's like super late. I'm trying to go to bed. I'm a little tired. So let's take a look at the final result. I'm done with my drink and I'm done with the DIYs, so I guess this is a good time to say thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So let me know, did you have a favorite or are you going to be making any of them? Now, I'm not quite done yet. I have actually a couple more DIY gift ideas that I'm going to be sharing, but over on my website, casarefind.com. You can go there, sign up for my newsletter. Maybe they're already up by the time you're watching this video, but if not, sign up for my newsletter there. It's so easy, it's free, it's all free there. So be sure to stay on the lookout for that. Now, come back next week. Next week, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorites from my holiday gift guides, which are going to be going up on the website very, very soon. Don't worry, I'll be sharing all this stuff over my community tab here on YouTube. So thank you so much for being here. It's been an amazing year. So excited to keep going. So check out these videos if you haven't already, and have an amazing day. Have an awesome season. Don't stress. There's no need to stress. If you're putting too much pressure on yourself, maybe it's time to let go of some things. I don't know. Anyways, have an awesome day. See you in the next video. Bye.